I'm closing everything down. I have a goal tonight. I'm not going to surf the internet during the episode. Howdy, this is Wednesday, July 5th, 2017, and this is episode 50 of Due for a Win, the Atlantic City and Casino Biz podcast. I'm Kyle Askin, joined as always by Craig Stone. Man, we've reached 50.
It is crazy. I can't believe it. 50 times. I mean, really, this is 51 because we had to do an episode twice.
We did have to do an episode twice. Do you know which one that is off the top of your head?
I have no clue.
I'd guess like mid-20s, early 20s.
It was somewhere in there.
Or something.
That sounds right.
Yeah, that was bad. So for all of the aspiring podcasters out there, it's good to have someone recording on both sides of the conversation. So when your recording software gets horrendously bugged, you don't have to record it over again because that sucks.
Yeah, advice for life.
Yeah, always have a backup.
Yes.
So, yeah, our first episode was November 22nd, 2015. So we figured that to start this episode off, we'd do a little bit of a retrospective and talk a bit about the beginnings of the podcast and sort of what's happened since then. So what were you expecting when we started this podcast? What were you looking to do with it?
I mean, I think I mostly just wanted to kind of shoot the shit about Atlantic City because we talked about it so much online otherwise, but it's funny. I think I had this vision of, all the other podcasts that already exist, like 520 by Midnight and all those other Vegas Gang, Vegas Tripping that all did things that I really liked, and sort of us joining that club, if you will, and in effect, like, that club has dissolved. so it's kind of funny. I mean, and obviously we're focusing on something that probably is not on those people's radar, but it is kind of funny that it feels like we've come in very late in the movement, if you will.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting.
We are a bit behind the times, I guess. So be truthful, Craig. Were you a bit disappointed that we weren't even, never got reached out to by any of them, weren't invited to VIMP or anything like that?
No, I never would have expected that, really, because, we're not Vegas people. We very rarely talk about Vegas. So I don't know. I mean, that's something that, like, maybe if we got some huge following of, like, crossover people who both go to VIMP and listen to us, like, maybe that would have happened in the long run. But no, I wouldn't say I'm really disappointed. And we never would have been able to go in the first place.
I mean, that's the big thing. We definitely would not have been able to go. But so I don't know what. I mean, we've talked about the beginnings of the show.
Yeah, I don't think we need to go
on the podcast. We don't need to hash that out. But like you said, it was really basically just a way for us to talk about the stuff we were already talking about anyway, and hopefully to add some value to people's lives. And from some of the feedback we've gotten, I think we've succeeded in that. So it's been a pretty cool experience. So what for you has been kind of like the most gratifying thing and the most disappointing thing that's happened along this path?
I mean, I think gratifying just the number of people that have reached out, either Twitter, Facebook, email, to make it clear that people are actually listening, because that's kind of crazy. Like, to think back to whatever it was, a year and 6 months or a year and 8 months ago, back when we were first starting, and we first got those couple confirmations of like, oh, somebody's actually listening to this thing.
Right.
And actually has, comments on it, intelligent comments and questions and stuff like that, was very gratifying. And like, oh, hey, we're not just pushing this thing out there into the ether, to now where we've got seemingly hundreds of people listening. And, the Facebook group is, I think, over 800 people. I don't know how many of them actually listen, but it definitely seems like, we've done meetups and gotten, 8, 9, 10 people at the meetups and talked to them and talked to a bunch of people through email, Twitter, and Facebook. And it's definitely not just that they are asking us questions that have nothing to do with the show, just because we happen to be related to Atlantic City, they actually seem to be interested and seem to be listening. So that is very cool. Like, that is definitely the most gratifying thing. Anytime it's like, oh wow, these are people who are actually listening. And then also the other side of that being, I feel like we have sort of carved out a little bit of a niche of our own thing, where like when we first started, maybe we didn't have our own voice so specifically, whereas now it feels like we've built something that's sort of consistent in the way that we do it. And I think we have sort of a vibe, I guess, in our podcast. And also just the fact that, you know, it seems like at least some people in the media don't just totally scoff at us. You know, like Route 40, we've met with Bill and Eleanor from Route 40. We've talked to Nicholas Huba from the Press of AC on Twitter. You know, back Christian Hetrick used to interact with us regularly. Amy S. Rosenberg, like all those people sort of not just scoffing at us about our lack of sources and that kind of stuff, but actually seemingly, you know, treating us as people who are in the media landscape, which maybe we don't necessarily deserve, but that is very gratifying to me, I think. I don't know. What do you think? I haven't gotten to disappointing, but what do you think about gratifying?
I mean, I think it's the same as what you've said, and it's what I just said kind of before this. That it is nice to know that we really are, you know, adding value to people's lives, and we're, you know, people are listening to us, and I just think that's cool, and that's all I can really ask for.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we'd probably still be doing it even if nobody was listening, just because,
right?
Like for me, when I know we're recording, it's like, oh, hey, I get to talk to Kyle about Atlantic City for an hour. Like, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. But it certainly makes it more fun to know that somebody out there is actually paying attention and, you know, asking us questions or calling us out when we're wrong and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So what about disappointment? Has anything been totally disappointing, you know, besides not getting invited to VIMF?
No, like you said, that was not a disappointment for me either. I mean, it's to be expected. I don't know. I mean, there hasn't really been that much disappointing. Something that's changed, and I don't know if there's much we can do about it, is I did appreciate back in the old days when the Facebook group was much smaller. I feel like the conversation was a bit more kind of centered around stuff that I really care about instead of like who's going to Atlantic City or whatever. But I think it's important that, you know, the way I've talked about adding value to people's lives, the way to add value to people's lives the most is just let them talk about whatever they want to on the Facebook group, as long as it's related to Atlantic City. And, you know, there's not much I can do about that. But I do miss when close to 100% of the threads in the Facebook group were really relevant to me and kind of the stuff I liked talking about, kind of the more businessy, strategic things back in the old days. But I don't know what there is to be done about that. Also, I do have to say that I was also a bit disappointed that when the Press of Atlantic City put out their kind of podcast about Atlantic City to listen to, we were not included, even though we've had plenty of interactions with them. So I noticed that. I wasn't thrilled, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I tried to justify that in my mind by saying it was more for people who live there, and we're not really local centric. But
you were talking to people on Twitter, like, you know, the Nicholas Hubas of the world and stuff at that time, and did not seem particularly outraged to me. I don't think we've ever talked about this, but I was a bit annoyed by that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little weird. I don't know who put that list together. It's possible that it's somebody we never interacted with at all, but I would say entirely likely that it's someone we've never interacted with at all. And this all sounds very self-important. Like, I just want to sort of put that general statement on all of this, is that, you know, I don't think we have any sort of grandiose intentions or ideas about ourselves as far as where we fit in the landscape. This is just sort of more like where we would have loved to have been or whatever. I mean, so with that caveat, what I'm about to say is going to sound even more self-important, but
this will be good.
I'm really surprised. Surprise isn't the right word. I'm really sort of. There's no way to put this. Isn't going to make me sound like an asshole. Like, I think it's weird that we haven't had any sort of industry recognition at all from Atlantic City casino operators.
Do you think so? So, this is when I was just chatting with Eleanor a bit. Well, last time I was in Atlantic City, I'd mentioned that, but for me, it makes perfect sense because here's the thing, right? Like, who's an independent casino operator? Like, the podcasts that focus on Las Vegas do have these connections, but it's all with independent casinos. It's all with people like Derek or
Derek
Vegas Fanboy had
from the D and Gold game,
like Ellis Island, right? I mean, it's like these small
Ellis
casinos.
Island Plaza.
That's not a thing in Atlantic City, really. I mean, and do you think CET is going to reach out to us?
No, and so that's a good point. And so I won't say I'm not surprised by it, but I do think like these people, these companies like Caesars and MGM have Atlantic City people and are obviously doing tons of marketing and press releases to Press of Atlantic City and Philly Inquirer and all that. And the fact that we haven't even like landed on any of those lists, I think is a little surprising just because, there are only a couple of us doing this type of thing. As independent outlets, I think Mel Taylor at AC Primetime is probably the only other one. So it's a little surprising to me that we haven't got on the radar. But I won't say surprising. It's a little disappointing, and where I'll really sound like an asshole is that I'll say I think that if these people who were doing sort of the Atlantic City marketing for Caesars and MGM and Resorts and all those other companies were really on the ball, we would be. And that, I mean, I know that sounds terrible, but it's not surprising at all because like having managed mailing lists, like it's so much easier to just go with what you know. Like the mainstream media, you have the lists of names to check off, and like Christian Hedrick leaves and he gets replaced by somebody else. And so you replace that name with a new name. It's much harder to like actively go out and find out who, especially an independent media, and probably barely media at that, is doing it. But it's interesting that we like never even sort of clicked on anybody's radar.
Well, so I think that you've brought that up. I mean, there's something else that we kind of have to talk about that wasn't on our agenda, but it's, I'd say by far, like the people who reach out to us privately, and this is just listeners, like the number one question they have is like, how can we support you? Or why don't you guys have a Patreon or a PayPal account or whatever? And since you were talking about, obviously, the marketing department of casinos reaching out, and you're surprised they haven't done that yet. I mean, do we want to talk a bit about how people can support us or kind of like what our goals are in terms of that with the podcast?
Sure. Just one thing I should probably mention to make it like clear that maybe we have gotten on the radar for something is that we did to our email address get an invite to a Hard Rock Cafe, not Hard Rock Casino event, media only event. So somebody got us on the radar. I don't know who, but somebody did add us. And what I'm really interested to see is if that will translate into Hard Rock Casino. I doubt it, but it would be very cool. Anyways, you were saying.
No, I just asked you, like, do you want to talk about sort of what do you say when people say how if they ask us how they can support us or whatever?
So this,
because it is the thing that comes up the most when we talk to people, right?
It is, and this will deflate the balloon if you're thinking that we're just high on ourselves.
It's important to talk about, given that you just gave the long chat about how you're disappointed that casinos haven't reached out to us for sponsorship opportunities or whatever.
Not sponsorship opportunities, just like, hey, we're doing this thing. We thought you should know about it. Anyways, the big thing is we're not really so big and so popular. I mean, I think the most generous estimate for our listener base is probably the number of people in the Facebook group, which is 800. I think that's probably high. So,
it's hard to know. I mean, just so people know, we don't have an exact number. We have a feed burner number. But the issue is anyone who gets the podcast through iTunes, we don't know because iTunes doesn't tell us that. We can just guess based on some stuff like where we are in the iTunes listings and stuff. But I'd say maybe a little lower than that.
Right. So FeedBurner thinks we have like 2 or 3 iTunes listeners, which I think.
Right.
My understanding
is probably not accurate.
Yeah, my understanding is that iTunes creates its own feed based on your feed. So it basically like redirects everything to them, and so you don't get the data on it. And I think that's part of Apple's strategy, but it means that we can't really get that data. I think if we were tracking specific file downloads, we'd have a better idea, but we don't do that. So with that in mind, you know, under not even 1,000 people, almost certainly not 1,000 people, you know, to change it to where we're trying to get advertising and we're trying to point people to some sort of Patreon and ask people for money, I think it sort of changes our incentives a little bit in a way that I don't, you know, maybe it wouldn't in the long run, but it's something that I'm a little leery of, and I think you've said you are as well.
Right.
And for the amount of money that it would be, you know, if it's $50 or $100 or a couple $100 a month, which is probably a really high estimate, like even that amount of money is not really a big difference maker, right? Like maybe it would be nice to have, it would cover things like hosting and like maybe my time for editing and that kind of stuff, but the value I place on sort of not feeling like it has to be out at X time, or, you know, if we miss a week, which is incredibly rare, like I don't feel too bad about it. I sort of never feel like I have to filter the crazy shit that I say based on someone who is talking to us or advertising with us or has given us, you know, $20 through PayPal or whatever. Like there's value in that I think it would take a whole heck of a lot of subscribers or Patreon people to make that worth it. So that's where we're at as far as the monetization thing. I don't know if you have a stronger or at least more concise and cleaner version of that I'm missing here.
No, I mean, I suspect I feel probably even more strongly than you do about this, about how it would change everything if that's the direction we wanted to go. And I do really, I mean, you said you're not sure if it would change what we're doing or not. I think it would, because right now, I mean, I think we get to try and make the podcast that we really want to make, right? And the second there's a Patreon, like we have to make the podcast that we think will do the best, like in the market. And I think it's a pretty big difference. And, you know, you can look at it like several different ways. You can say maybe if we do that, that brings more value to more people. But I mean, that's not why this podcast was started. That's not why I'm interested in doing this kind of stuff. And, you know, like you said, it's not that, you know, I'm against ever even thinking about it, but, you know, I'm not interested in having a PayPal link or a Patreon or whatever now. And like maybe one day if we ever have like a AC IMF, you know, I think we'd be, you know, or at least I would very strongly want to be very upfront about how we would be compensated for that. I don't know. I mean, I think it's just, I feel very strongly about not monetizing right now or anytime soon, honestly. Even if we had double or triple the subscribers, I wouldn't be interested in doing it. So
just to play devil's advocate a little on the Patreon thing, you could certainly argue, like, we've done 50 of these things. Mm-hmm. People know what they're going to get. Mm-hmm. They're paying for, like, a thank you, right? Mm-hmm. But you can't... There's a psychological thing there that it would sort of make you feel like, oh, hey, like, we really need to make sure we get this thing out every 2 weeks, or, like, the schedule needs to be more solid.
Right. No, or we need to try to, you know, interview more people maybe who are a bit bigger in the industry, or like, you know, this. I mean, it really does. If we monetize, it would change kind of our editorial decisions, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, we kind of put as much effort into any given episode as we feel necessary and as time dictates, but.
I will say kind of something that I'm a bit proud of, and this has a lot more to do with you than me, is, you know, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I have a reasonably long commute, and I do have to say that one of the things that really irks me about other podcasts is like some of them just have god awful sound quality, and I think we do a pretty good job with that. So thank you very much, Craig.
Sure, I try. I mean, there have been some spotty ones here and there.
Right. So anyway, to kind of come all the way back around and answer the question, like how can you, if you're a listener and are interested in supporting us, how can you do that? Just for me, the big thing is if you have friends that you think would like the podcast, send us over to them and give us a recommendation or write a review on iTunes, stuff like that. I mean, it matters a lot more to me than getting your money, and because I'm honestly not interested in that right now. So,
yeah, I mean, an extra listener, like a friend of yours who listens to the podcast, or like an iTunes review or whatever, just to, mention on Twitter, any of that kind of stuff, like that's worth more to us than $10 at the end of the day. So yeah, I agree with that completely.
Cool.
So should we move on to other questions? We have some more here. I don't know if we've already covered
we should move on. And I do just quickly want to say that just to make it clear, I have absolutely no grudge against any other podcasts who want to make money. And in fact, I fully support it. And I understand that, making a little bit of extra cash is certainly a good thing, but it's just something that I'm not interested in doing with this podcast right now. So I just want to make that clear. So
do you want to talk some about like the city development and stuff, or do you?
Yeah. So I think it's good to kind of look over the last year and 8 months or whatever, what's happened in the city, like some of the major stuff, and our general feelings on like kind of how things are different since then, and what's gotten better, what's gotten worse, etc. So, I don't know. So what are kind of like just like one or two like kind of big things that have happened in the city for you?
As far as just the most shocking thing about the content of the podcast is, I think when we started this, we really thought we were going to do Vegas Gang for Atlantic City. Like, we thought it was going to be deep dive into the business side of the casino market. What is Caesars doing right now with Bally's, and like what does a room renovation look like at Tropicana and that kind of stuff. And then we started the podcast in 2015. 2014 was when a bunch of casinos closed, so we kind of missed that wave, which would have been a sucky way to start. But then, we started, and it was a bunch of state legislative crap, right? Like, it was state takeover, potential bankruptcy, all this like crazy legislative news. Will they open up legislation to allow more casinos and that kind of stuff, and just, seemingly these constant failings, and Borgata's owed a bunch of money, and everybody's owed a bunch of money from the city. And so it was interesting that it went so news heavy. And I think we've pulled back from that, partly because the news has dictated that we pull back from that, thankfully. Like, it's become less of an important part of what's going on. I mean, it's obviously still an important part of what's going on in Atlantic City, but there's more stuff to talk about. So that's been sort of a crazy ride. Like, I never would have thought that we would be almost like a government news podcast. I felt like we were for maybe the first 10 episodes at least. But as far as like, I don't know that I can point out a single big development. I think obviously the sort of ongoing Taj saga, where it closed and now it's being bought by Hard Rock, is as big as anything that we've talked about. But just these sort of incremental changes and really following it sort of day to day, and seeing things like new stuff opening at Tropicana, trying to sort of push away maybe from totally gambling to whatever they're attempting to do at Showboat that seemingly is falling apart, which we'll talk about more. Harrah's, the changes in restaurants, all that stuff, like the little changes that maybe you don't even notice if you just go to the casino and play and leave. That's been interesting to follow. And to me, it's been, for the most part, an improvement, right? Like, there's been new restaurants that are good. Like, you talked about Olan and Okache, I think last episode on the Trip Report. Beer garden, pool, new restaurants at Borg. Like, there's, it seems like they're moving forward. It's not generally sort of like the crapification of Atlantic City, and we're beyond closings. So I think that's been interesting to follow. I don't know that I could say there's one giant thing besides the whole Hard Rock thing, and then obviously following this Revel mess that has sort of been the main focuses of our podcast. But I don't know. Do you have another opinion on that?
Um, no, I mean, I think just kind of the big thing for me that's changed over the time we've been doing the podcast is just the sort of abstract feeling that I have about Atlantic City, or I think honestly that a lot of people have. That, I mean, stuff was like so negative when the podcast first started. I mean, like we said, it was just a year after the 4 casino closings in 2014, and stuff just looked like it was never going to get better. But I think in a lot of people's opinions, things are kind of turning around in Atlantic City. I think right now the outlook is a bit hopeful for a lot of people, and that is definitely something that it really wasn't back in 2015. So yeah, that's kind of like my main kind of overarching thoughts on what's different in Atlantic City.
Yeah, and that was really, I mean, that's really within the last dozen episodes or so. I mean, I think Hard Rock announced their purchase of Taj in episode 30, like in episode 38, as if they came on the show and and announced it. Like between episodes 37 and 38 for us. So, you know, we're talking 12, 13 episodes. And for the start, it was really, you know, we were following, why can't Revel open? Why does Showboat open and suck? Why does the playground not doing anything? Like, all these failures seemed so important, and there were inklings that it was getting better, like that there was movement towards improvement before Hard Rock. So I won't give Hard Rock all the credit, because things like Little Water Distillery, that was announced before Hard Rock announced. Like, that was sort of a signal of like, hey, this is cool stuff coming in. But the Hard Rock thing, seemingly like overnight, was this gigantic shift in attitude toward, wow, like somebody really wants to invest in this town that's not Bart Blatstein or Glenn Straub, who is really going to pump a bunch of money into this thing and make it really good, you know, that has a national reputation. There's no question about, can they actually run a casino? Can they even get a casino license? And it's been this huge change. And the biggest thing I can say about that is, you know, AC Fan Expo, which we can talk a little bit more about later, opened and closed. And 3 or 4 months ago or 6 months ago, that would have been this big, devastating thing as far as just like, oh, here we go again. And similarly, like the Boardwalk Con, you know, obviously in the same genre, has seemingly disappeared. Like, it's not going to do its summer date. It seems unlikely that it's ever going to come back. Like, that again would have been like, oh, here we go again. Another big sign of you know, AC can't bring in non-gaming attractions. But, you know, with Hard Rock here, with AC, with Little Water Distillery, with the brewing company, DeWalt Brewing Company coming in, all of these things kind of tilt the meter to positive, and so you can kind of overlook some of the negatives as like, okay, you know, you're trying some stuff, not everything's going to work. So, like, not as much weight is on every little effort, which is really nice because there's this giant thing coming down the pipe.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I think you think about this a bit more, I guess with a bit more details than I do, but just you know, for me, it's more like the overall feeling is pretty positive, and it's not about Hard Rock specifically or this or that, you know, exact thing. It's just between everything. I mean, you know, Hard Rock, you know, taxes have actually gone down for the first time in a million years in Atlantic City. Just there seems to be just more and more developers coming in. You know, what started as just a trickle of Bart Blatstein and Glenn Straub has kind of opened up quite a bit more, and it's just this feeling I have where at the beginning of the podcast I was cautiously optimistic, and now I'm just optimistic. Yeah,
and I think, I mean, we've talked a lot about how I've been sort of pessimistic, but you know, I feel very good about the future of Atlantic City. There are certainly specific projects that I don't feel great about, but I think part of being pessimistic is, like I said, you sort of put a lot of weight on things that maybe don't deserve it. And when they fail, you think it's this broader implication about the sort of doom and gloom. And it's easier to overlook that stuff now. So
right. I mean, I think, and just to kind of follow onto that a bit, like, I feel like I'm optimistic, not because of all the news that's come out, but almost sort of in spite of it, given that, you know, like honestly, Revel's been a disaster. Our entire series, it's been closed the entire time. Showboat's been a total disaster. There's so many small things that have kind of come in and been like, hey, we're going to open this cool thing, and then that's the last you ever hear of it, or the next time you hear of it, they've decided they're not going to do it. So my optimism isn't kind of because of the news that's happened. It's in spite of it, but I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just a dreamer and not realistic, but I don't think so. I think things are turning around.
So what about, has anything really shocked you in terms of development? Like what happened or failed to happen that you're just like, oh my goodness, I didn't think that would ever happen?
Well, as certainly we've said over and over again, I think to me right now, the biggest surprise, a year and 8 months into this whole, into this podcast, I never would have guessed at episode 50 that the Revel would not be open. So
it's unreal.
That's definitely the biggest kind of surprise or disappointment to me. I do think it'll be open in the next 50, hopefully, but who knows? I've thought it would open up before in the past, and I've been wrong every time. So
yeah, it's hard to argue with that. I'm trying to think of something just to be contrarian about a bigger surprise, but I mean, there were points where it seemed like it was imminent that it would open.
Right, it was going to be in like a week,
happened.
And it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah,
and honestly, I mean, there's not even any specific date in the future where it seems like it's going to open by. It's just this thing that it has to open at some point, right?
Yeah.
I mean, my guess at this point is that Straub will sell at some point and someone else will open it up, but who knows? I mean, I have no idea. So.
Yeah, I'm certainly past thinking that he's ever going to be the one to open it, but I mean, what sort of related, one of the things that I found very surprising in more general terms, and maybe this is just because I'm not in the media, is how many times people take a bunch of reporters on a tour of something. And this happened with Glenn Straub right before Revel was supposed to open. I don't want to say the first time, but maybe like the second time. One of the many dates that he set, that he said he was going to let people in and actually let people stay in rooms. We saw it with the former Atlantic Club, supposedly getting a water park. Like the amount of times that they take media people on a tour and say, this is a done deal, like this is what all this is going to be, we're going to totally renovate this, we've got millions of dollars to do this, and then it just falls apart, or it never happens, or the date passes and it's just nothing. And there are even things now, like looking at the future calendar of planned development, like there are dates that are mentioned for opening dates where we never heard anything about it after the announcement, and then the date has come and gone and they haven't opened. Like Bungalow Beer Garden they mentioned that they were hoping to open July 4th, and Route 40, I tweeted just asking like, what's the update about that today? And Route 40 said on Twitter, oh, we were just over there yesterday or Monday, and it looks exactly the same. Like they're not even starting construction. Like they had knocked some stuff down, but they haven't actually started any actual construction. So that's something that like, okay, what happened with that? And so, like DeWalt Brewing Company, which I mentioned, they were saying they were hoping to open in July, which is this month, and there has been no news since that announcement, and their website still says they're based in wherever, Pennsylvania, and so it's kind of weird. And like Steel Pier, their observation wheel was supposed to open in July. Now, if you go to their website, it says mid-August. There hasn't really been much reporting on that. So like all that stuff it's like, a date happens and you search for it like, hey, this was supposed to happen, and the latest news about it is from months and months and months ago when they first announced the date. And I guess that's just sort of a testament to the fact that, other people don't create a calendar with supposed opening dates and then check back to find those dates. And things open when they open. But if you really follow this stuff, it's kind of weird in that way. Like that's been surprising how many times that has happened. And I'm not the only person who's noticed this, because clearly Hard Rock, the execs at Hard Rock mentioned in their press conference, like, we don't want to do that. We are not going to come up and announce something and then it's the last you hear of it. So that was refreshing. But
we'll see what you're saying in like March of 2018. It's like,
yeah,
weren't those guys supposed to open?
Yeah. Now that they said supposedly Memorial Day 2018. Yeah, we'll see what I'm saying then. Anything else on episode 50 general stuff, or should we?
I think we're good. I just kind of one more thing to circle back around on the earlier conversation about supporting us. I actually think the if you really want to support us, one of the best things you can do is give us an email or shoot us a tweet about something you'd like to see or some sort of constructive criticism, something we can do better. I'd love to hear it. I can't promise I'll agree with you and change anything, but I always like to hear ideas. And I'd really love to hear what people have to say about what they would like to hear more of or less of on the show. So if you have any suggestions for us, just let us know. I think that would be incredibly valuable just to kind of hear what people have to say.
Yeah.
Let's move on. This has been a very, very long segment, so it's kind of what I expected. So let's jump into some quick follow-up on the last 2 episodes. So I know I said in the last episode that there'd been some negative feedback about us not having the trip report right after the trip, but there actually was no negative feedback. I ended up saying that because I guessed that there would be, because we actually recorded both in the same night, just because our schedules were both a mess at the beginning of, or end of June, early July. So if you noticed, I also in the last episode did not have the date that we recorded it at the beginning of the episode, which I believe was the first time ever, or at least it's a very early episode that we didn't do that, because it was recorded the same night as episode 48, and just we knew the trip report would keep longer than the news episode.
That was also a listener suggestion, by the way, putting the date in there.
Was it?
Yeah, email.
Maybe. I thought that was my suggestion, but it could be. I also listen to all the episodes, so I am a listener.
That's a good point.
So anyway, that's why we ended up doing it that way, just because I was on vacation last week and Craig was on vacation over last weekend and the beginning of this week. And, I feel like it's something we wanted to keep the episodes coming. I don't feel entirely comfortable telling the internet that I'm going to be on vacation. Just, I don't know, one of those things, I guess. And so that was the decision we made. So another piece of follow-up is you actually asked me at the end of episode 48 what my least favorite AC casino to gamble in was, and I didn't really answer you at the time. And I've given a bit of an answer on the Facebook group, but before I answer, since I already did on the Facebook group, what is the answer for you?
Well, I said Bally's in the episode. I said that's the place I least want to gamble in. It's probably Harris now, just because I'm still annoyed at them. If you listen to episode 49.
Why don't you follow up on that, and then I'll answer the question.
Sure. So, Harris, if you listened to the last episode, I had my whole situation where I lost a bet, except the dealer said I pushed, didn't think anything of it, and then the eye in the sky called down and told the pit to collect my $25 15 minutes later, and I was super annoyed and took my money, didn't bet anymore, and left the casino. So I got the survey from Harrah's saying, like, how was your recent trip to Harrah's resort, Atlantic City? And so I just explained the whole situation in the email, basically just said, like, hey, this is what happened, I'm annoyed about it. I just find it annoying that this is the policy, basically. And so somebody called me up to say, actually, that they are required to do this. They're required to correct the mistake if surveillance catches it. So he did say it goes either way. So if they catch it in your favor, they're also required to correct it. Mm-hmm. I feel dumb after the fact because I didn't, if I had known that he was going to call, I would have had a bunch of questions written down, but I didn't. So I just kind of botched this stupid call. He was very polite about it. He said he wanted to call because I misconstrued the situation, which, whatever. I don't think I really misconstrued the situation. I think they did not present the situation in as clear terms as they could have. But I wish I had asked if required meant required by law or required by Caesar's entertainment policy, because those are two very different things that you could both use the term required for.
Especially given what happened with Borgata and Phil Ivey and all that stuff, I would almost certainly guarantee that it's a DGE thing. It's a New Jersey Department of Gaming thing.
But I also wanted to ask, and completely failed to ask, what would have happened if I had just left and they realized it, but I was gone? Is that just the end of of the conversation, in which case, like, what does required really mean at that point? Because if it expires as soon as the person's out of the casino, that's weird. But if it doesn't, and I could come back to Harrah's 2 months from now and they'd say I owe $25, like, that's even extra weird. So I don't know, like, it was an okay call. Like, I guess I sort of understood their point a little bit, but, like, I didn't end up feeling all that great about it. Like, I could have totally done without the call. I basically feel the same. Like, I don't like it. I'm not, like, so mad about it that I feel the need to, like, tell everybody to boycott. But the one thing he did say is that if he was the person running the pit, he would have offered me some sort of comp food voucher or direct bet at the time of the correction, just to say, like, hey, we know this sucks, let's make it right. And I told him at the time, like, that would have made all the difference in the world. Like, I just want the sort of transparency of, like, hey, we're sorry about this, we don't like it, we have to do it, here's some compensation. They don't even have to compensate. If they had just said, like, we are required by law, like, they just happened to catch this, even that I would have been like, okay. Like, I wouldn't have liked it, but I at least would have understood. Whereas it was totally just presented to me as, like, hey, you owe $25. Like, you actually lost that hand, give me $25. So that's pretty much that. Do
you want me to burst your bubble a little bit?
Yeah, go for it.
I mean, he could have given you a comp food voucher then, right? I mean, he could have just given you reward credits.
On the phone, you mean?
Yeah.
So he did say, like, so, okay, I'll say this. I got the feeling very much that he did not want to do that. but he did say, like, oh, here's my name. If you're, like, next time you're at Harrah's, look me up and I'll give you some kind of food voucher or reward credits or something. Which, like, the lack of specifics and the fact that he didn't give me a phone number or anything, like, he did not want to give me anything.
I mean,
like, let's just make that
presumably
really clear.
This guy is, there to try to make you feel better, and assuming CET is, like, a decent company that doesn't micromanage all their employees, like, surely he could have given you 2,500 reward credits, and then you would have felt much better about everything, right?
I mean, I wouldn't have really felt that much better about everything because, like, it's just an annoying thing that happened, and I wish that they would have handled it better in the first place. So, like, 2,500 reward credits doesn't make them handle it better in the first place. So, that's that. Still annoyed at Harrah's. Sorry, Harrah's. So, what about you? What's your least favorite place to gamble?
Oh, so I don't know, it's kind of hard to say. I think AC, like, for me, there's lots of casinos in Vegas, like, both nice and divey, that, like, I'm not interested in gambling at all. But whatever casino I'm in AC, I'm not ever going to be upset that I'm there, right? And I don't know do you feel that way as well? Except with Harrah's now, I guess.
Yeah, I'd prefer not to be gambling at Harrah's. But even Bally's, like, I don't particularly like Bally's, but I'm not upset that I'm there.
Right? Like, if I was gambling in Vegas at Wynn, for example, which is probably the nicest casino in Vegas, I'd be like, this is stupid. Why am I here? This is a waste of my time. Like,
you could be at
6 to
Harrah's.
5 blackjack and double odds craps. Like, this is awful.
Right. Yeah, or New York.
Or, like, some random station casino or something that's just, like, a locals joint. Or when we went to Las Vegas Club in Vegas, I'm like, this is the worst thing ever. Why are we here? Get me out of here.
Yeah.
So in Vegas, there's certainly plenty of casinos that I'm not interested in gambling in, but in Atlantic City, they're all kind of, it's open season for me. I'm happy with any of them, but I think I said in the Facebook group, Harrah's is actually, like, surprisingly, like, kind of generic. It doesn't have a whole lot going for it other than those 3 video poker machines that we mentioned last episode that I really enjoy. I think the table games are definitely nothing special. It doesn't have a whole lot of personality there. Trop, I've talked a lot about how I do not like playing table games there, and I still feel that way, even though I had a very nice experience kind of as in whole at Tropicana my last trip, other than losing a bunch of money at craps. But just, I think the drink service is beyond abysmal for the table games at Trop, and I just don't think it's very nice, and it's always crowded, and there's not enough tables open, and I just don't think it's a really good time. But I don't know. I mean, there's not really, like, a specific, like, worst place to be. I mean, I haven't been to Golden Nugget a whole lot. I've enjoyed every time I've been there, but it's the place I've been to by far the least. So clearly I'm not super interested in going there, or I'd be there more than I am. But I don't know. It's kind of a hard question for me to answer.
But it seems like mostly Harrah's or Trop is your finalists in the place you least likely to play.
I say that, but I'm go there a decent bit, right? Like, isn't the answer really Golden Nugget because it is the place I gamble in the least?
But I think out of the marina properties, like Borgata's the nicest place to play in AC, and so if we go to the marina, it's usually to go out of our way to go to Borgata, and if otherwise, you're staying at the marina at Harris because you're getting a comp room at Harris.
Right. And I will say, I think I said in the Facebook group, like, the good things about Harris are, like, A, the rooms are very nice, especially if you're in Waterfront, which I was our last trip, or Bayview. The restaurants are very nice, assuming they're open, which it wasn't when we looked into going to Veracruz. But, the restaurant options are very good. It kind of has a lot of the stuff I like in a casino resort, like, Starbucks and various cheap places to eat that are pretty quick as well. I got a slice of pizza there our last trip. So Harris has a lot of like kind of non-gaming intangibles going for it, but I do think the gaming is not particularly great there.
Yeah, I have a weird feeling with Harris where like there have been times where I've been wandering around Harris and been like, this is great. Like all the non-casino stuff is fantastic and whatever. And then there have been times where I'm like, my room sucks. The gambling sucks. Like the service is not great. Like,
well, that's your fault for living in like Marina or Harbor Tower.
Oh yeah.
Don't do that. But that's a horrible mistake.
But the alternative was to pay for a room, and that sucks.
Yeah, that's true. That's not a thing you do.
No. Well, actually, last time I stayed in, I think Harbor Tower, I did pay, and it was a lot because it was in August, a weekend in August. So speaking of Harris, should we talk about this update on the celebrity restaurant?
I will point out that I had a comp room then, but that's fine.
Right.
As I recall, me and Zach both paid you guys.
Yes, you did.
Nice, but
yeah, very generous of you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's going to be Gordon Ramsay. It's unfortunately not going to be a Guy Fieri, which seems like it's really putting them behind the eight ball. And I don't know how they're going to get to 2 Guy Fieri restaurants if they don't.
They have one. They need a second. Yeah. So this is Daryl McEwen, who was 7 Stars Insider, mentioned to us after, I guess it was episode 48, that he had heard on Philadelphia radio show in May that Gordon Ramsay was working on a second restaurant in Atlantic City, which he presumed to be in Harris. So that's in one of the recent 7 Stars Insider newsletters, so I'll link to that in the show notes. But so not going to be Guy. It seems like it's going to be a Gordon Ramsay restaurant. So that's the update. Certainly more to come, but just a quick sort of updating the record. One other thing that I should probably update to correct from previous episodes, since I talked about how I feel obligated to be generally correct, is that the Gardner's Basin Crafters Village thing, they are able to stay open this summer. So they struck a deal that they can stay open this summer, and then they'll have to relocate after that. But that's pretty much the entire story. So good for them. I don't think there's anything else to really add.
All right.
Move on to Bartlett's and stuff.
Ready to actually get to the news portion of this episode an hour in?
Let's do it.
Hopefully we can fly through it. Oh, we skipped the part. You tried the Little Water rum.
Oh, yeah. So I did try the Little Water Distillery Batch 001. I'm not a rum connoisseur, so I'm totally the wrong person to be reviewing it. I wouldn't say it's like the best rum I've ever had, which I wouldn't really expect from like batch number 1 of a really small distillery, but I did sort of like appreciate it more as I drank it more. It's kind of a unique taste. It almost has sort of a...
So it's alcohol is what you're saying.
Yeah, pretty much.
Isn't that the path of enjoyment of all alcohol? You appreciate it more as you drink more.
Well, it does have like a sort of a unique taste, I think, for rum that I think if you're... Like, I'm not super into specific types of rum, so I didn't know what to look for other than like I'm used to rum being like Bacardi. That's the default rum. It's very sweet. This is not so sweet and almost has sort of like an oaky flavor to it. But I thought I made a mojito with it and a daiquiri, and I thought it actually gave it like a little bit of a unique flavor that was kind of interesting. At first I was like, ooh, that tastes a little off. But then as I drank it more, I was like, oh, that's actually kind of interesting and good. So it's worth trying. I don't know that I would buy it again, but I'm happy I have a bottle from batch number 00001. And I'll probably buy more other stuff as it comes out. Like I'm excited to see what other aged whiskey they have that comes out.
Cool. You actually going to go on a distillery tour next time you're in AC?
Probably not.
Probably not. I'd like to, but probably not.
All right, let's kind of blow through some news here.
Let's do it.
So, kind of a big piece of news is it's not a correction, but it's a supplement to what came out on Route 40 that we talked about in episode 48, where they said they talked to Bart Blasting, and he said that nothing is going to be opening on the Garden Pier in July, which was different than what the sign said, but something actually is going to open on the Garden Pier in July, and it's opening...
He was like, just kidding.
Yeah, it's opening this upcoming weekend, I believe.
Yeah, July 12th, I think, is the first stuff on the calendar.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
luckily, it sounds like Bart Blasting learned nothing about having zero turnaround time between announcing something and having it open. It sounds like this is going to be a locals thing.
Yep.
It's going to be catering to locals, not tourists, which I think is weird. But what do I know?
Seems weird. I'm with you.
Right, but it's I don't know. Do you want to talk about this a bit? To me, it just sounds like he's trying to do the pier again, which
Playground.
The playground, yes.
Oh, I think he's trying to do even less. I think it's even more half-assed than that. It's even less than half-assed than that, if that makes sense.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, my feeling is that certainly, this is something I've talked about before, but I have a degree in kind of real estate development-y kind of stuff. That was my specialization when I got my MBA, and an important part of investing in real estate is kind of that inherent in it is there's always like this option, to use a financial term, where you can own this piece of land and use it for kind of something that doesn't cost a lot of money to open up or whatever, while you kind of wait for something better to come along that you'll be able to switch to at any time. But to me, it seems like Bart Blatstein, that's all he's doing. He's kind of taking these spaces, not doing anything with them, trying to make a tiny bit of money while he figures out what he actually wants to do with the space. Do you disagree with that?
Oh, I agree completely. I don't see how you could look at everything he's done in Atlantic City and think anything other than that.
I mean, it just... I've been so... just to me, it seems like he doesn't know what he's doing. Like, he doesn't have any specific plans about what he wants to do, and he's just waiting.
Yeah. So this thing... Pier AC, the website is pieratlanticcity.com. Thanks to Adam in the Facebook group for pointing it out. We can also link to the article from Eleanor Comley on route40.com, rt40.com. They held a job fair on June 27th for bartenders, servers, barbacks, security, and maintenance positions. They say on their website that looks like it was built by an 8th grader, that they will have... food trucks, special events, social affairs, and private parties. They have some live music on the calendar already, starting on July 12th. They have weekly specials like Thirst Day Thursdays, not Thirsty Thursdays, Thirst Day Thursdays. I forget what else. There's some other stuff like
that's just. I mean, your brain turns off after hearing that.
Yeah,
so.
you can't go on anymore after that. They're partnering with the Atlantic City Surf School and SUP AC, SUP-AC, which is a stand-up paddleboarding thing to do, I guess, sort of classes and lessons and stuff. I don't really get specifically how that's related to Garden Pier, but that's how they're partnering it out. But like you said, it seems like it's going to be a local thing, some music, some food trucks, and some alcohol. But to me, again, this thing opens in a week from today, and seems like there's basically nothing there right now. Like, they're maybe started to put up some very basic construction, but yeah, I mean, I think this is another one of those things where he's got the space, he's gonna open up something cheap, and it does not seem like the long-term solution. So I don't know. It's hard to get excited about the Pier AC as it is currently envisioned.
I am not excited about it.
Yeah. I mean, especially like on the heels of the Fan Expo closing, it just feels impossible to look at this and not just like slap your forehead and think like, what are you doing, man? Like, why are you
doing
this?
And that even, we were both maybe not optimistic about the Fan Expo, but thought it would be a cool thing, but Bart Blatstein didn't have anything to do with that. He just hired a company to do this thing because he didn't want to make a decision on the space, and just it was an easy way to do it, like an easy thing to do, and hopefully make a little money, and maybe it'll work and maybe it won't, and he didn't care either way.
Right, but that's what this seems like also.
I agree. So anyway, let's kind of give a bit of an update on the Atlantic City Fan Expo.
Well, should we
do you want to go ahead with this? Or
should we talk about Bo's Sliders, Wings, and Pizza, which is supposedly opening at the former Johnny Rockets at the Showboat?
No.
Okay.
I will say though, if Bart Blatstein wants me to take back everything negative I've said about him and start giving him some positive press, all he needs to do is reopen the Earl of Sandwich in Showboat, and the positive press will come rolling in from us.
Yeah. Anyways, AC Fan Expo update, more important than Bo's Sliders, blah, blah, blah.
So we mentioned on the last episode that AC Fan Expo, posted to their Facebook and their Twitter on June 19th, I believe, that they were shutting down, and that was basically the only notice that was given to the fans. I believe that was a Friday, right? So that I believe it was supposed to be open that night, correct?
I'm not sure about the exact dates for when they first posted it, but sounds right.
June 19th is a Monday, so maybe it was the 16th. So sorry about that. But anyway, on Sunday, June 25th, they posted again on Facebook that said, "Folks, we love Atlantic City. We love the amazing Jersey Shore. As a result of issues beyond our control, we're on hold. As soon as we can let you know what is going on, we will. We thank you for your support and your belief in the rise of Atlantic City." So basically, we actually got an anonymous tip a few days ago from someone to our email account with some information on a hearing. So, which we were able to confirm using the kind of the New Jersey search, like case search. So what's happening is it looks like Venturis Partners are actually suing Showboat LLC. Venturis Partners are the owners of AC Fan Expo. Showboat LLC is presumably Bart Blatstein. So they put this lawsuit in on 6/19, asking for relief from a judge. It looks like the judge gave them partial relief, which could mean anything. Someone would have to go down to the courthouse and see if they could pull the documents, which they might not be able to because the case is still open. It looks like the next hearing is going to be on 7/14. And Showboat will actually kind of show up to this one, I think, and try to explain to the judge why the judge shouldn't give Venturis whatever that is they're asking for, which we have no idea because, again, we can't easily go to the courthouse and find out. So hopefully on 7/14, someone in the local press will be able to head down there and listen into the hearing and kind of find out what's going on. But I think it's pretty interesting that Venturis is suing Showboat. I mean, I don't know exactly what it means. You can posit some guesses, Craig, but I don't know. Why don't you go ahead and posit some guesses?
So, I mean, I think the biggest thing that this makes pretty clear, unless I'm totally misreading it, which I don't think I am, is that Blatstein or Showboat, Blatstein's organization, Showboat, terminated this agreement. Like, they kicked AC Fan Expo out. It was not AC Fan Expo saying, like, we can't make a run at this, like, it's over. They got the boot. So that, to me, I think that makes it completely clear that that's the case. Obviously, they want some sort of relief from Showboat, presumably in terms of money or some sort of injunction to continue operating. Although, would you really want to operate in the condition where your landlord basically wants you out and has already kicked you out? Who knows? Who knows where this is going to go from here? I will say we'll have to wait and see. But interesting to get that tip and also find that information. So, and thanks to you, Kyle, for going and finding the info and figuring out what the heck it meant. Because I had certainly misconstrued what the initial report was. So.
I do want to say, I think it's possible you're also misconstruing what this means exactly. I don't think it guarantees that is what happened, though it is certainly something that could cause them to sue Showboat LLC. I mean, it's also possible that in the contract there were things that Showboat needed to do, or Bart Blatstein needed to do, or whatever, whether it be
advertising or a million other things that, or, open stuff up, or, who knows what was written into the contract. And it could be other stuff that Showboat was not doing. And
take down the total rewards banners.
Yeah. Because to make a claim against them, you need to show damages. So in that case, if Showboat just was not doing what they needed to do, it might make sense that ACFX just close down temporarily and be able to add, whatever time they're closed to the damages they're seeking. So
yeah, so that's definitely true.
I don't think it means necessarily that they were kicked out.
Yeah, I mean, I think my assumption about them being kicked out was saying that it was out of their control, right? But certainly they could claim that the lack of anything that Bart Blatstein or Showboat was supposed to do that they didn't do would also be out of their control. So,
right.
Yeah, that's true. Hopefully we find out. I mean, I think I said a couple episodes ago we'll probably never find out because they have no incentive to let us know. Now I think there's a very good chance that we find out because it's all going to go in court.
I mean, it's going to be in court. Courts are public here, so hopefully we'll find out on 7/14 what exactly is going on, or before that. Which, like I said, I don't know exactly if the documents are available now if you go to the courthouse or not, but it's possible that you can kind of find out more about it before then.
Yeah, and I think we're the first to report this, so big scoop from Due for a Win.
It's our first scoop in our 50th episode, right?
Yeah, took 50 episodes, but we got there. Congratulations.
Yeah. So,
do you want me to go on Trop's Resort Fee? It's higher. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, you can do
it. So Trop's Resort Fee has been $15. It's one of the cheapest. I think it was actually equal to Golden Nugget for the cheapest in the city, among casino resorts at least. And it has gone up, we found out. So the resort fee itself has technically not gone up. So they will still claim that it's $15. The problem is they're no longer including the state tax, which I think is like 13.875%, or the $5 occupancy fee. So it should be $22.08 instead of $15. There are a couple reports in the Everything AC Casinos Facebook group that it's actually $22.50, which I guess is just some kind of rounding bullshit. I can't confirm that without actually booking a room, so I'm not sure. This went into effect, I think, on July 1st, so it was actually after, Kyle, you stayed in the Tropicana, so we can't confirm based on your credit card charges or anything.
I also charge some food to the room, so...
well...
I'm, again, trying to do things that Eric would approve of, or the people who know more approve of them. I'm trying to start charging food to the room instead of just paying for it, which is what I would traditionally do.
So we won't know if you got charged $22.08, $22.50, or $15.
I will not know, no.
But what you need to know is the resort fee per night is somewhere in the range of $7 to $7.50 more expensive at the Tropicana. So it's no longer one of the cheapest. Golden Nugget, now the cheapest at $15. The crazy thing is Borgata is the second cheapest at $20.
For now.
Which,
it's not going to
count down the days because it is not going to be long before that goes up. We've updated our list of resort fees. I will link to that in the show notes. It's also, if you go to our website, dueforawin.com, it's under the resources tab on the main menu. So you can see the resort fees list. It's always one of the most popular things that we have. Anything to add about Trop raising the resort fee?
Nope. So just kind of quickly, our last piece of news, unless you have something further to say.
Nope.
Is that the Taj is having a liquidation sale starting tomorrow, July 6th, which will be in the past by the time you hear this. Or at the very least a couple hours prior to you hearing this, depending on how quickly this gets out. We have a couple articles, including one linking to the contents of the sale, which I know some people in the Facebook group were very disappointed that it was only like the hotel stuff and not any casino memorabilia.
Yeah.
But I believe that not Christian Ettrick, Nicholas Yuba mentioned that is actually a law that you're not allowed to sell casino stuff.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like there was a hint, I think, in his initial I think it's John DeRosier. I hope I'm saying that right. Who wrote the article, and I think hinted that there would be some like gambling tables and stuff, but certainly in the lists that we will link to that lists the contents. No gambling stuff listed. It's all, curtains and linens and beds and furniture and TVs and carpeting and crazy chandeliers and shit like that. So what do you think? Do you want a giant Taj chandelier for your kitchen, or a big white elephant for your yard, or perhaps to completely redo your entire carpeting with casino carpeting?
Casino carpeting is pretty nice.
It's pretty sweet. Oh, come on,
I'm
do
not
it.
Really interested. I know
just
that
your
a bunch
office
of people,
where you record the podcast.
It could be nice.
That'd be sweet.
I do know that a bunch of people in the Facebook group were going and seem pretty excited about it, but this isn't something for me. I'm not. Yeah, it's not up my alley.
I mean, I want to see it. I'm sad I'm not going to see it. I want to buy random garbage from it. My wife would kill me because she's very much about, you don't need this shit. Why are you buying it? Taking up a bunch of space. Our apartment's not that big. And also, I have no real emotional attachment to the Taj Mahal. If it was the Atlantic Club, maybe.
Yeah, I'd be all in on that. That is true. If it was the Atlantic Club, it would be different.
Get some nice 1980
marble
furnishings. Yeah, I need some marble.
It's a lot of marble in that place.
Marble sconces. Just redo my entire apartment in marble, in white marble. Be awesome. Or my kitchen is now the Dizzy Dolphin. Even better. Like yes. The big sailboat thingy up there.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that'd be sweet. That'd be incredible. Anyways, that's enough daydreaming for now. We'll link to the places that you can read more about this. I think it's probably time to wrap up because we are deep.
Yes. Like we said, I just do want to thank you guys so much for listening to us. It's really a treat to do this for, partially for ourselves, but partially for you all. And it does mean a lot to me that we have so many listeners and you all are so engaged and meet up with us on our trips or chat in our Facebook group or whatever. It's definitely super cool. But anyway, if you want to join our Facebook group, which was previously mentioned, it's facebook.com/group/doforwin. You can find our website with some of our content on doforwin.com. You can find our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn Radio, YouTube. You can reach out to us on Twitter @doforwin or send questions to doforwin@gmail.com. Any last words, Craig?
Thanks for sticking with us for 50 of these things.
I know. And I guess that means we've done it. We did our 50 episodes, and now the show's over, right?
No, that's not how this works at all.
Oh, I thought that this was... I thought we just had to do 50.
Well, we apparently are never going to Atlantic City again.
We've unlocked the achievement, so what else is there to do?
Yeah. That's a good point.
All right, so we'll have to wait and see. You'll probably hear from us in 2 weeks, but you'll have to wait and find out. You'll hear from us in 2 weeks.
Because I could just imagine myself having some brain fart and forgetting, some giant thing that opened in the time.
Mm-hmm.
Not that anything giant has really opened.
The showboat, man. Come on.
That's a good point.